I never thought of myself as the boss. I just wanted to build. But once I had a team, I realized someone had to lead. Hey, Will Mosley here, parentpreneur. Let's vibe out. Today I want to talk about my transition between being a builder to being a leader in business. Going from solopreneurship to operating a team of 12 and how I'm navigating that today. We'll talk about kind of past, about how I used to do things. We'll talk about what I'm doing now that can help hopefully benefit you. And then thoughts about, the future, as we scale, as we build. So let's jump into it. So past Will, chapter 1. I never thought of myself as a boss or as a manager, as a person that was in control of other people's outputs. By the way, we have baby Rowan here, so you'll probably hear him kind of moving around, fussing, whatever. But we'll do our best to get through this. If not, of course, we'll come back to it. I always thought of myself as, I can do it myself. I've got this. I'm a hard worker. And I've gotten really good with skills and stacking skills of being able to get stuff done. But, the Zoom. I forgot all about the Zoom. Let's not Zoom. We're going to stop playing with the camera. But it's fine to be, a specialist when you are, when you're getting hired to do a role. Most times, employers, they want you to be able to kind of do something really well again and again and again and again. They're pretty much buying your time. And then in exchange for that time, they give you money. And so it makes sense to kind of get into this role of being able to kind of be a self-starter, being able to kind of do your job, and then not be ultra reliant on other people, or needing to delegate out all of your stuff. At least that's what that's what I thought. That's kind of where I was at. It served me really well. I've always been the second or third, the right-hand man to the person in the business. And I was down to do anything, down to make it happen. But don't sign me up for a manager role. Don't sign me up for telling somebody what to do. That's at least where I was. And that served me really well until I really started operating, my own business and started to actually have a team where everything's just in my head, and trying to have someone do things on your behalf, your instructions can be really vague. You can can you go design me a flyer, right? For instance, and their resume or their whatever it is, their board says, I'm great at this. I have 10 years of experience. I have all this stuff, and so you say, okay, cool. Go out and cook. Go ahead out and do your thing. And I believe that there's a lot there to it, to allowing someone to kind of go ahead and just do their work. But as a person, as, a boss, what happens when, that work is subpar? Or what happens when you need that work to be repeated again and again? What happens when, it's just one of those things where the big thing in business is whatever you sell, you're marketing that, and you're making a promise. You're saying, this thing that that I'm offering, I can do it well, I got you. And then on the flip side of that, you have delivery of that promise. And so as you start to scale, or as you start to work outside of yourself, you may be able to deliver those results consistently from yourself but you have a cap on your time, right? Meaning that you have a cap on how much delivery you can actually do. And so the idea is that you're able to find people that can do those things on your behalf or do a portion of what you're doing. Ideally, you're probably a unicorn. And so you're doing 5-10 different types of things. And if you can, take each one of those things that you do and extend it to a specialist, because right now you're a generalist. When you come into business, you may be a specialist in the thing that you're selling, but you're a generalist in all these other things because you're not actually spending your full 8 hours a day, every day, just improving and improving and improving that one skill. You're improving a multitude of skills all over the place, which is, it's required. But better yet, you can take one of those skills that you're really only going at 10% right now and give it to somebody so that they can take it to 80% or 100% or 200%, depending on the type of person that they are. And so that's the idea, is that you're really just buying back your time. You're saying, okay, I really enjoy doing sales, or I really enjoy building systems, or I really, I'm going to do the thing that's going to generate the most revenue in the business so that we can keep cash flow going in. And then I'll take this thing that I still would spend the same amount of time and give it to somebody else that is a specialist in that field. And so the ideal scenario is, we got a bottle. The ideal scenario is that you have an A player or a B player, and you're able to say, okay, go ahead. I trust that you'll get this done. I trust that you get this knocked out. And I do believe that when you have a talent, you just say like very vague words. You're like, hey, can you go get leads for me? And they're like, got it. And they go get you leads. They ask you a couple of questions and they just continue to generate them over and over and over again. But if you don't have, say, A-list talent, your instructions have to be more and more detailed. And this is why I do think it's important that you focus a bit more on recruiting, because you're paying so many more hours later when you don't do the due diligence on the recruiting up front. And this is a hard lesson I've had to learn myself, is that I've definitely hired really amazing people, but I've also had to learn a lot about how to give instructions and how to take the knowledge that's in my head and give it to somebody else, or not give it to somebody else, but lay it down so that collectively the whole hive, everyone can benefit from that knowledge. And also you in the future, whenever you have to hire somebody again or you hire another person, you make it much easier. And all this stuff has to do with leadership. Originally you're just kind of, everything's in your head, you know what you're doing, you're a specialist. The boss says go out and cook, you're like, I got you. You come out back with a result and they're like, that looks great. And they're not really looking to hire, or at least maybe not the immediate. They're happy with the result they have. Most businesses are not, I wouldn't say probably most. Yeah, most businesses aren't scaling, past 10 people. So they try to hire the best person they can for the spots that they have, and then they cross their fingers that everything goes well. And for me, at least, I care deeply, 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 deeply about how can I really productize the delivery of my flagship product. And really we have two flagship products. We have our site kit and our commerce kit, and then with those you have site care and commerce care, which are pretty much the ongoing maintenance of those two products. And so with that being said, I know how to deliver a website, but when you're hiring in and no one's really proved what they actually can do, you're taking heavy risk, because you're saying, okay, I'm gonna promise the client I'll get this thing done, okay? And then you're used to saying I'll get it done, and you know how long it takes you to cook. You know how long it takes you to do the thing, but you don't know how long it takes for other people to do that thing. And so a way of trying to de-risk yourself, or at least I've found, is you divide up the responsibilities and get it as granular as possible. So for instance, with a website, you can say website, we'll go make a website, and I say, okay, but if I want to get really granular with it, like the process might be, let's see if I can bring this up really quickly on the computer, because we have this here. Notion. Go over to, by the way, Notion and Loom are just insane tools. It's just absolutely insane. We got this. So I might say for a website in general, and this is the real process, we might break it into 12 steps, okay? So you have, I'm just going to read from the database right here in Notion. So step 1 might be client intake and asset collection, okay? So they're responsible for gathering product lists, branding, sitemap, theme, choice, confirmation. Then the next part of that might be, we need the site backup for the full and the staging. Then you might need to go ahead and do the theme plus the plugin installation, WooCommerce configuration, product import, I'll just read really quickly, wireframe mapping, brand styling, homepage build, shop plus product page build, content polish and SEO setup, QA testing, and launching client handoff. And technically, you as an individual, you as a person, you do all of that work initially. But what we can do is, if we can hire out 12 people, and I know this is not the video about how to hire and not hire and all that. Not how to hire, but how can you hire 12 people on your budget. This is not that video. But if you can hire out a person to handle each one of those processes, all of a sudden your product looks a lot like Chick-fil-A. Where Chick-fil-A just, all they do is make a chicken sandwich. That's it. You know what I mean? They have other products, don't get me wrong, but like, all they really do is make a chicken sandwich. But they have so many people handling the delivery of that chicken sandwich, which means that they can be much more consistent with the quality control. They have checks and bounds, etc. And so, with that, when you have junior talent or people that you have not tested, so when you have D talent or C talent or whatever, talent that you have, you're not absolutely confident that they can deliver consistently. You're not absolutely confident that they'll deliver a really good result. And so a way to de-risk yourself is to figure out a way to break it down into different roles. So for instance, with those 12 roles that we're building out for, number 1, for the client intake and asset collection, you have an account manager. For the site backup, you have a backup specialist, a theme installer, a store configurer, a product manager, a UX specialist, brand stylist, homepage builder, shop page builder, SEO copy specialist, QA tester, and launch specialist. All of those different things, so that you can get this, you can start to guarantee results, because that's what you're looking for. You're trying to look for guaranteeing a promise. Because that's all you're doing, is when you sell something, you're making a promise. Oh, Papa, we might have to call it early. Oh, it's okay. It's okay, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay, buddy. It's okay, bro. Because what you're doing is you're trying to guarantee a promise, but you're guaranteeing a promise at scale. So like, how can we make this repeatable and do this fast? How can we do it fast with quality, and then do it at a rate that people love the product, so they then continue to buy this product, which gives us more revenue for us to then expand the team, etc., on and go. The flywheel of it. But if you hire people and then you don't hold them accountable, or you hire people and you don't make systems for them to understand how things are supposed to happen, you're really creating even more jobs for yourself. And I found that is what I got into a little bit, and I actually love this because it's forced me to think a lot more outside myself. It's forced me to think a lot more in the global scope versus keeping everything in my head. Creating this centralized space where we can have triple checks, right? So, for instance, like the developer has a checklist of things. Like, pretty much, if you think about the proposal is a list of promises. Okay, so you have one big ass promise. Okay, but the proposal has a checklist of things that you said you're going to do. You're like, okay, we're going to deliver this. We're going to do these things. It's going to be that. Da, da, da. So it has a checklist of like 5 to 10 things. And what you can do to ensure that you keep your promise is you take that exact checklist and then you take it over into the deliverable, whatever you promised on that project, and make it a checklist in like Notion or whatever. And then what happens is you put, like, let's just call it developer check or creative check. They have to check those boxes off and say that they're done. Now, of course, again, with junior talent, you want to be like, I trust you got this, but you don't know that. And if you just place your bets on that, you may end up with, results may vary. So then from behind that, you take that same checklist right below the same task list, and you call this the PM double check, okay? And you put those that exact same checklist, and they need to check that off to say that they checked each one of the work of the person that said they did it. And then because you still, again, everyone's new on the team, you also still need to go behind the PM and do a double check to see that they also checked. So you have a triple check on delivery. And once you do that triple check, a lot of things don't get through the cracks. Or at least that's that's how I see it. We're kind of new to this whole thing. Again, so this is future casting, but you are with your business. All your business is a promise, is a promise maker and generator, or promise maker and deliverable, on promise maker and promise delivery. So if you think about this, if you can't keep your promises in your business, do you feel as though people will come back to you? And that is, that's just the crux of it all. You have to realize that you now have to transition into this leader role where the more people that come in the door, the more promises that you're making, and how do we guarantee those promises? It has been a really insightful kind of week for me. Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of stuff to share. But I figured I had to kind of go ahead and just make this video. It's been like a week since we made a video. I've been meaning to make a video. I've been like deep in the weeds with all the different things. But if I can give one piece of like wow, I'm just blown away with like Notion. I'm blown away like the task, just the platform. It is just so scalable, so intuitive, so smart. The big shift that I made this week was really just centralizing everything with, originally I was using Notion as like the place for kind of like team internal stuff, but I realized that clients are almost the same thing as your teammates, where like your teammates need a task manager so that they can keep track of their tasks. And then the client, in a sense, is the same thing. They need to be able to keep track of their project and kind of create feedback. So you're working hand to hand with the client, and you're working hand to hand with your teammate, and they're just it's synonymous. So I've made a client dashboard in Notion for all of my clients, and then I've made obviously task views for all my teammates, and that has created a lot of cohesiveness, because I felt like there was a lot of kind of all over the place. Like right now I still have Help Scout, but it's like, do I still keep Help Scout as I want to give my project updates in Notion and just ping the customer, hey, go over your client dashboard, boom. And I guess Help Scout could do that, or Help Scout could be for good for like post care. I'm not sure, but Notion just seems to just crush. And then Loom, of course, being able to just record videos asynchronously, and then your team's able to kind of see it and understand it. Just amazing. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get going. He's a little fussy, little crank. But it's been real, guys. Cheers to managing a team. Let me know what your biggest takeaway was in this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Peace.